Hey guys, what's up? This is Tom Burkart from Car Revs Daily. Just left Olthoff Racing in outside Charlotte, and I'm headed to the check-in of the Mustang event. Wanted to record some quick first impressions about the Superformance GT40 that I got a very exciting ride in by one of their guys, and it's obviously, you know, a legendary machine, and being able to ride in one was still a big treat. It's a really difficult car to drive, and these are all customer cars that they're building. You know, that cost upwards of $150,000 each. So I wasn't too bummed that I didn't get to drive. Or I mean, of course, you always want to drive stuff, but you know, I wasn't too bummed because it was already sensory overload being in the Superformance GT40 as is. So I was really impressed with a variety of. I mean, obviously the cars are really, really impressive, and even better than. I mean, I've started calling them recreations instead of replicas. You might notice, because a replica sort of implies that if you feel like a replica gun or something, like it doesn't fire. You know what I mean? Whereas so I think replica is doing the Superformance work a big disservice, because obviously these cars are not only faithful, you know, a millimeter accurate in the chassis layout from the original blueprints, but are also hugely advanced in terms of the performance that they offer drivers today, as well as the comfort, safety, and you know, the overall proposition as a supercar. So this is, oops, I gotta go right here. So that's pretty great. It's the car drove really, really well. I mean, it was incredible. It felt extremely fast. It was running about like a 5.4 liter V8, which is the small block engine, versus the 7-liter V8 that's also offered. Something they said, you know, you can spend between $10,000 and, you know, upwards of $60,000 on the engine itself. So the Superformance GT40 is 140 grand, you know, before options, as like a pristine rolling chassis, as you will see hopefully in some of these pictures. But then of course the engine and drivetrain is sort of like the next step, and of course, like, they still install it all for you, but for you know, regulatory and other reasons, they install the engine as like the next step, so it's like a separate transaction. So of course, you know, and something they said is, you know, a lot of guys put way too much motor in versus like what they can handle, you know, because it's still not, you know, it's still not going to be an easy car to drive versus like a modern design. But I loved it. Of course, I would love it. I think that a race car recreation would be, I think it'd be even more fun than having a modern day supercar, because it's significantly more timeless if you get a really good one, which clearly the Superformance cars are. You know, they won, you know, they won a long running dispute with Carroll Shelby, who was very litigious throughout most of his life, and was trying to get all these guys shut down, basically. But Superformance, you know, the guys basically called and said, you know, like, let's sit down, talk face to face, and we're able to work it out so that not only is Superformance the exclusive, you know, a builder of recreations and distributor, but they also build like a lot of like Shelby branded stuff itself. So it's a pretty broad-reaching partnership, and it has a lot of, you know, it's about as authentic as you can get. So other things about the new GT40, I mean, it was really loud, obviously, in the cockpit with even the small block V8, but it was pretty comfortable. I mean, the air wasn't running, but the car obviously hadn't been on for like 20 hours on a racetrack, but it didn't feel super hot. It didn't look extremely difficult to drive. I mean, we were driving, it's a 5-speed box these days, and we were in a right-hand drive car. Of course, but the gear lever is still, oh, I'm so itchy for some reason. The gear lever is still on the right, so even for the guy who was sitting next to me, this really sweet mechanic whose name I can't remember, I cannot get that guy's name. You know, so the gear stick is still on the right, which is a lot better for like people who have mostly driven cars that are left-hand drive, because obviously like English cars that are right-hand drive, you know, have the gear stick on the left, which is a little bit confusing. It felt extremely fast. I mean, the one we were in was geared really, really short, so it's obviously a much stronger like sprint type of vehicle. but it had the tracking felt pretty true. It really had it had a pretty aggressive ride, just because it has like inboard suspension. So you know, race cars have that stuff, and it's really 100% performance focused, whereas like most suspension is like designed for potholes and, you know, to really flump around, whereas this thing was pretty was obviously super focused. It felt really fast. This car, even though the 4.8 second sprint to 60 really doesn't do it justice, like I mentioned in the previous video, versus this slide is ridiculous. Justice. So you know, it's made me nervous because it's an 11-second car. It's an 11-second car in the quarter. It's really vibrating like a mofo. Anyway, so I think the GT40 from Superformance is an amazing vehicle. I'm not sure if I would pick that one over the Daytona Coupe, which is also a favorite, but I'm not sure if you can see this. There are Mustangs lined up everywhere. All right, well, we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye.